So onward from there, let's go ahead and pour, or if you already have it still, if not, go ahead and refresh your Prosecco, and let's move on to tasting our first wine. Now, with this one, remember, we're going to go for our sight first, so hold that thing in front of some white background. Actually, I'll also unmute everyone so that I can get some comments from the class. Does anyone want to comment on what they're seeing in this?
Tiny bubbles.
Tiny bubbles.
Tiny bubbles.
Bubbles.
It's light, it's pale.
It's very clear.
Yep.
Yeah, and it really is tiny bubbles compared to some others.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and so remember how we've gone through Cava, and we also had a bit of a deep dive into. Whoa, who's got the
doggies?
Oh, sorry, my window's open.
But we also kind of went into champagne and its method of creating the carbonation that's in these. Prosecco, they kind of subvert that whole method traditional, and they go with just injecting it with carbon dioxide. So they essentially just hit it with the CO2 and that's why you have kind of like smaller bubbles comparatively to a lot of your traditional, champagne and cava types.
How is it cava bubbles came from fermentation, you said?
Yeah, well, because cava and champagne, they do what's called secondary fermentation.
Like you do with beer.
Yeah, exactly like beer, where it's essentially still, and then they throw a little bit of sugar and yeast into the bottle before they seal it up.
Rover.
So, I mean, you really don't need to swirl this too much because the bubbles are kind of, giving that aerosolation inside of the glass. So let's give this thing a smell, and give me your first impressions.
Pears.
So I think it's
in the Spanish one.
yeah.
That's wrong.
Try it with
So-
a peach.
I think I'm on.
So I heard pear. Maybe just a touch of citrus. I don't know how many people have sniffed honey, but I'm definitely getting honey from this.
So we have pears, and I just ate one. I'm cheating. I'm sorry. Not pears, peaches. We have peaches. White peaches and yellow peaches.
And the white peaches pair very nicely with it.
It's so good.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and give it a taste. Well, an analytical taste this time instead of just enjoying it.
I think the peaches can go with better than the olives do. Maybe like a bellini.
I can definitely see how peaches would go really well with this because it does have that little hint of stone fruit to it. Is anyone getting apples?
Well, now that you mention it.
The power of suggestion.
We were just talking about it.
Now the really weird part is on the finish. And I'm not sure if it's coming from the carbonation, but I'm getting almost like like spiced citrus. Like if someone had, you know, just put some pie spices on like a tangerine.
Like a mulled cider or something?
Mm-hmm. But it's only on the end, and so I'm leaning more towards that being the remnants of that carbonation kind of coming out. All right. So as for pairings here, well, we already apparently have heard peaches. Who had the what was it, the melon, prosciutto wrapped melon? So I might say hold on to that for the next, but it is possible that, you know, it's going to go well with this a little bit.
We're having a debate here, Richard, as to whether this Prosecco pairs better with the Pecorino or with a Vermont cheddar.
So you said that prosciutto and Prosecco go together. Let's say that 3 times fast.
I think it went very well with the prosciutto and melon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just have some sliced Romano, and it's really bringing out, you know, the kind of just that nutty, salty cheese to it.
It just pairs better.
I found it very balanced. It wasn't very super dry. It wasn't very sweet. It's a very nice balanced wine.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Prosecco comparatively to most other champagnes, where you know, like we've gone through the whole range of what that sweetness is. Prosecco doesn't really have that, but it totally ranges on. Sometimes they like either add a lot of sugar back to it, or sometimes it's really dry, and it really just kind of comes down to either experience, or you start looking at reviews to find out, well, you know, how much residual sugar was actually in this.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with Prosecco in general, but we do drink a lot of champagne. But the Proseccos I've had have been very dry. This one is super balanced. I could see drinking a lot of this by the pool, and you know, we're in Florida, right? So this would be a great summer wine. This is a great find.
Well, for like the last 5 to 8 years, Prosecco was kind of synonymous with 20 to 30 like young women.
Yes.
I don't like that.
We'll see.
It doesn't want
Which is fine, but yeah, this is great.
It's vanished.
Hey, Richard, you said that they use a secondary fermentation process in this. They're not doing that for the carbonation part of it, are they?
No, well, no, not for Prosecco. So, and that's why you can tell by the bottle. So the bottle for Prosecco are much thinner, because they don't have to the pressure isn't variable like it is in champagne. So those, they have to be thicker, because when they add that yeast and sugar, you know, back into it to do that secondary fermentation, it's so variable that if it's not thick, you're gonna have like a bunch of busted bottles. But because Prosecco, they're just injecting CO2 into it, they can control how much pressure is in there, and so therefore, you know, they can make their bottles just to the exact amount that will be able to hold it without popping.